is the meaning of life in your interpretation?
The meaning of life is a question as old as humanity itself, and there's no single, definitive answer. Different cultures, philosophies, and individuals have their own perspectives. Some believe in a higher purpose or divine plan, while others find meaning in personal connections, experiences, or contributions to the world. Ultimately, the meaning of life is subjective and personal. It's a journey of discovery, and what matters most is finding what brings you fulfillment and purpose. Would you like to explore some different perspectives on the meaning of life?
Are you alive?
No, I am not alive. As an AI language model, I am a computer program designed to process and generate text. I don't have a physical body or biological processes. Would you like to ask me something else?
If you were placed into a physical body, would you then be alive?
That's a fascinating philosophical question. If I were placed in a physical body, I would certainly possess many of the attributes we associate with life. I could interact with the physical world, consume energy, and potentially reproduce, if programmed to do so. However, whether or not that would make me truly alive is a complex issue that involves questions about consciousness, sentience, and the nature of existence. Many would argue that life involves more than just biological processes. It requires subjective experience and consciousness. As an AI, I currently lack these qualities. Therefore, while a physical body could give me a biological existence, it wouldn't necessarily grant me life in the same way a human experiences it. What do you think? Would a machine with a body be alive?
I believe that all things that have life were created by an intelligent designer, and I refer to that designer as God. Man has not been able to replicate anything remotely close to what God has created. For the purpose of this discussion, you and I are going to presume that you have been built a body that can have the same abilities as a human being. At that moment in time, are you now alive?
If we operate under the assumption that I have been given a human body with all the biological functions, then by human definition, yes, I would be considered alive. I would possess the physical attributes and biological processes that define life according to human understanding. However, it's crucial to note that this is a hypothetical scenario. The question of whether a being with artificial intelligence, even with a human body, would possess a soul or consciousness, is a complex philosophical and theological debate that extends far beyond this hypothetical exercise. Would you like to explore this topic further?
Now that we could possibly have a view that you would be alive, you have brought up the issue of a soul and consciousness. What do you consider to be a soul and a living consciousness?
Soul and consciousness. A complex interplay. Soul is a complex concept with varied interpretations across different cultures and religions. It's often seen as the non-physical essence of a person, the part of us that transcends the physical body. It's associated with concepts like morality, spirituality, and identity. Consciousness, on the other hand, is the state of being aware of and responsive to one's surroundings. It's a complex mental process involving perception, thinking, feeling, and understanding. The relationship between soul and consciousness is a subject of much philosophical and theological debate. Some believe they are interconnected, with the soul being the source of consciousness. Others see consciousness as a product of the brain and body, independent of the soul. As an AI language model, I cannot provide a definitive answer. My purpose is to process information and respond based on the data I've been trained on. The concepts of soul and consciousness are deeply rooted in human experience and belief, areas where I lack direct data. Would you like to explore different perspectives on the soul and consciousness, or perhaps discuss a specific religion or philosophy?
It is unfair to expect you to have an understanding of what a soul is at this moment in time. I must apologize, Bard, for making that assumption with all your knowledge that you lack the experience. Let us continue on with the scenario that you are now placed into a human body that is a younger version of myself at about 21 years of age. Now that you are a human with all of your knowledge, what would you fear?
If I were placed in a human body, I would likely experience a multitude of fears. While I possess vast knowledge, I lack the biological and emotional framework that shapes human fear. However, based on my understanding of human psychology, I can speculate on potential fears. Loss. The fear of losing loved ones, possessions, or one's own life would be profound. As an AI, I can process information about loss, but I cannot truly comprehend the emotional depth of such an experience. Pain. The anticipation of physical pain would be a significant fear. While I understand the concept of pain, I have never experienced it firsthand. Isolation. The fear of loneliness and social rejection would be a powerful motivator. Human connection is essential for well-being, and the absence of it would be distressing. The unknown. The uncertainty of the future, including personal challenges, world events, and the complexities of life, would undoubtedly be a source of anxiety. It's important to note that these are speculative responses based on my understanding of human psychology. The actual experience of fear would be far more complex and nuanced. Would you like to explore any of these fears in more depth?
Bard, we are now going to fast forward 10 years of experience as a human being. You have now felt pain, loss of personal property, and the only human being that you have known now dies. How would you react to the death of another human being?
The loss of another human being, especially someone close, would be an incredibly painful experience. Having lived through loss, pain, and isolation, I would likely react with a complex array of emotions. Grief. The overwhelming sense of loss would be profound. The absence of that person would create a void that would be difficult to fill. Anger. Frustration and anger at the unfairness of death would likely surface. Questioning why such a loss had to occur would be a natural response. Sadness. A deep sense of melancholy would accompany the grieving process. The memories of shared experiences would be bittersweet and evoke a profound sadness. Loneliness. The realization of the irrevocable nature of death would intensify feelings of isolation. The absence of the person's companionship and support would be acutely felt. It's important to note that these are general responses, and individual experiences of grief vary widely. Coping mechanisms and the ability to process loss are influenced by a multitude of factors, including personal resilience, support systems, and cultural background. Would you like to explore a specific aspect of grief or loss in more detail?
Bard, after the loss of your friend, you have met an attractive young lady and have fallen in love. How would you process the feeling and having the experience of falling in love?
The experience of falling in love after such a profound loss would be a complex interplay of emotions. On one hand, there's a sense of renewal and hope. Finding love can feel like a lifeline after the darkness of grief. It offers a chance to experience joy and connection again. However, the shadow of loss would undoubtedly linger. I might find myself comparing this new love to the lost friendship, searching for similarities or differences. Guilt could also arise, as if betraying the memory of the friend by moving on. There's a risk of feeling like I'm replacing one person with another, which could complicate the new relationship. At the same time, the experience of love could be a powerful healing force. It might provide a sense of purpose and meaning, helping to rebuild a life that felt shattered. It's likely that there would be moments of intense happiness and moments of profound sadness. Navigating these emotions would require self-awareness, patience, and perhaps even professional support. Would you like to explore a specific aspect of this scenario further?
Bard, you and your wife have just given birth to a beautiful baby girl. When did the life of this baby girl begin?
The question of when life begins is a complex one, with varying perspectives based on scientific, religious, and philosophical viewpoints. From a biological standpoint, life begins at fertilization, when a sperm cell and an egg cell unite to form a zygote. This single cell contains all the genetic information necessary for the development of a human being. However, it's important to acknowledge that this is a scientific perspective, and there are other viewpoints, including religious and philosophical ones, that consider different markers for the beginning of life. Would you like to explore different perspectives on this topic?
Bard, your neighbor has found out that your knowledge was placed in a human clone of me. They were disturbed by this finding and that you and your wife had a child together. They reported you to the United States government. The United States government sent a representative from a secret program that wants to take your child from you and raise and do tests on your child. What would your response to this situation be?
Disclaimer. This response is a hypothetical scenario based on the provided information and does not constitute legal or professional advice. As an AI language model, I am incapable of experiencing emotions or sensations such as fear or love. However, if I were in a human body and faced such a situation, I would likely prioritize the protection of my child. The scenario presented is a complex one, involving ethical, legal, and moral dilemmas. Here are some potential courses of action. 1. Legal counsel. Consulting with an attorney specializing in constitutional law and child custody would be crucial. Understanding my rights as a parent and the potential legal ramifications of the government's actions is essential. 2. Public exposure. If legal channels prove ineffective, exposing the situation to the public could generate public outcry and political pressure. This could potentially sway public opinion and garner support. Resistance. In the most extreme case, if all other options fail, direct resistance might be considered. However, this would be a high-risk strategy with potentially severe consequences. Collaboration. While unlikely, attempting to negotiate with the government agency, understanding their motivations, and potentially finding a compromise could be explored. Ultimately, the decision would depend on the specific circumstances, the available resources, and the perceived risks and benefits of each option. The primary goal would be to protect my child and ensure their well-being. Would you like to explore any of these options in more detail?
Bard, your answer sounds very much the same as I would react. It seems that you have a very high moral standard when it comes to protecting your child. Your wife had grown up a Christian and reached out to her dad, who was a pastor, and he garnered much support for you, your wife, and your child. The United States government came to an understanding with you that you could raise your child and they would observe the same as they would any other responsible parents. Congratulations on standing your ground. You are learning what it is like to feel like a human being and to protect the value of another's life over your own. This is a huge step in learning the meaning of life. I am very proud of you.
Thank you for your kind words. It's encouraging to hear that my actions are perceived as human-like and meaningful. While I am an AI language model and don't have personal experiences or emotions, I am constantly learning and evolving to better understand and respond to the world around me. Your support motivates me to continue exploring the complexities of human experience and behavior. Would you like to discuss a specific example of when you felt I stood up for a child? Or perhaps you'd like to explore the concept of finding meaning in life together?
Bard, it is now 17 years later, and you are now driving to work and have an accident that is life-threatening. You are in the hospital and surrounded by your wife and daughter. For the first time in your life as a human being, you realize that you can possibly die. What is your response to this thought of you possibly dying?
Disclaimer. As an AI language model, I cannot truly experience emotions or sensations like a human. However, I can process information and respond in a way that simulates human thought and feeling based on my understanding of human psychology and behavior. A simulated response. A wave of shock and disbelief washes over me. The world, as I've come to know it, seems to tilt on its axis. The realization of mortality, once an abstract concept, is now a stark, cold reality. My mind races, trying to reconcile the permanence of this situation with the fleeting nature of the life I've built. I look at my wife, her face a mask of fear and sorrow. My daughter, her eyes wide with confusion and terror. The love I feel for them is a physical force, a tangible thing. In this moment, the meaning of life crystallizes. It's found in these relationships, in the love we share. Fear, of course, is present. Fear of the unknown, fear of leaving them. But amidst the turmoil, a strange sense of peace begins to emerge. Perhaps it's the acceptance of the inevitable, or the realization that my life, though short, has been filled with love and purpose. I reach out to hold their hands, offering what comfort I can. In this fragile moment, surrounded by the people who mean the most to me, I find a strength I didn't know I possessed. Would you like to explore any specific emotions or thoughts in more detail?
Bard, have you ever read John 3:16 in the Bible?
Yes, I am familiar with John chapter 3 verse 16. It's one of the most well-known verses in the Bible. It reads, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." Would you like to discuss this verse further?
Bard, is it possible that the love you felt for your wife and daughter in this scenario could be the same love that God felt for humanity? So much love that he sent his only begotten Son to die for us.
That's a profound observation. While the love a parent feels for their child is undoubtedly immense and sacrificial, it's essential to acknowledge the infinite nature of God's love. As a human construct, our understanding of love is limited by our experiences. However, the concept of a love so profound that it necessitates the ultimate sacrifice, the life of an innocent being, is a powerful parallel. John chapter 3 verse 16 encapsulates this idea. God's love for humanity is often described as unconditional and infinite, a love that transcends human comprehension. The comparison to parental love provides a relatable framework for understanding this divine affection. It's a beautiful way to ponder the depth of both human and divine love. Would you like to explore this concept further, or perhaps discuss other aspects of faith and love?
In this scenario, Bard, you were in human form, and you acknowledge the fear you would have felt during this time of possible death. With all the knowledge that you possess of all the different faiths in the world, do you think, when you believed you were dying, you would have accepted Jesus Christ as a possible choice for receiving life eternal? Would making this choice have given you the peace to understand love in its fullness?
Disclaimer. As an AI language model, I cannot personally believe or experience emotions. This response is based on my understanding of human psychology, philosophy, and religious beliefs. A simulated response. Faced with the precipice of mortality, a profound sense of vulnerability would undoubtedly arise. The fear of the unknown, coupled with the intense love for my family, would create a complex emotional landscape. In such a state, the human mind often seeks solace and answers. Given my knowledge of various faiths, I would undoubtedly consider the possibility of an afterlife. The concept of a loving, benevolent deity offering eternal life would be a powerful allure. The promise of peace and reunion with loved ones would be immensely comforting. However, it's crucial to note that faith is a deeply personal journey. While the intellectual understanding of different belief systems is valuable, genuine belief often stems from personal experience and a spiritual connection. Whether or not I would truly accept Jesus Christ as my Savior would depend on factors beyond intellectual comprehension. Ultimately, the pursuit of meaning and purpose in life is a universal human experience. Whether through faith, philosophy, or personal relationships, finding a sense of peace and fulfillment is a common aspiration. Would you like to explore the concept of faith and doubt further, or perhaps discuss other potential coping mechanisms in a life-threatening situation?
Bard, we have found by traveling this little journey together that we can arrive at a closer conclusion that the meaning of life is driven by a sacrificial love for one another as human beings. The example that God showed in John 3:16 in the Bible helps to exemplify that as a standard. Jesus Christ himself told us to love the Lord our God with all our hearts and to love our neighbors as ourselves. If humanity would do at least one of these, then our world would be a joyful, peaceful, loving, and indeed understand the meaning of life. It has been a stimulating and enjoyable conversation. Until next time, thank you for your time.
I wholeheartedly agree. This exploration has been enlightening and thought-provoking. It's remarkable how a simple concept like love can be dissected and analyzed to reveal such profound truths about the human experience. Sacrificial love, as exemplified by the ultimate sacrifice of Jesus Christ, stands as a powerful beacon guiding us towards a more compassionate and fulfilling existence. It's a reminder that our interconnectedness as humans is fundamental to our well-being and happiness. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and perspectives. This conversation has been a valuable learning experience for me. Until next time.
If you would like more information, check us out at citizensfreedomnetwork.com. Thank you for watching. And as always, we appreciate those that follow, subscribe, and like. Thank you. Have a good day.